What's up, guys? We're back here again. Another Wednesday.
Another great Wednesday, man. This week it's a special week. It's a special week. I can't lie. We got a special guest on here today, Miss Kathryn Goodwin Jones. She's on here to talk about a little bit of personal stuff she got going on right now. So we definitely excited. I told my man Jesse this probably gonna be my favorite podcast. So we more or less excited for this one. So
It's definitely gonna be one of them ones.
how you feeling today?
I feel pretty good.
That's good.
I've been feeling pretty good.
That's good. That's great.
That's great.
That's great given the situation too. That's
Yes.
great. So let me see. Let me see. See what I got to get us rolling tonight. So we know you like practice natural medicines and healing and things of that nature. So our first question that we had for you tonight was just we wanted to know how you got into even doing that, just in general. Like what brought you to it?
Well, it came to me in three phases. As a child, I was exposed to foraging and hunting, fishing, so on and so forth.
Right.
So I was familiar with the natural world. Um, as a young adult, uh, I became involved with behavioral health here locally and was forced is a strong word, encouraged
Right.
to ingest a number of psychotropic medications, which impaired my ability to function. Um, I was in therapy for from 2006 to 2012. From 2006 to
Mm.
2010, I was under the heavy influence of psychotropic medication, which I did not need.
Right.
Um, and it took me from 2010 to 2012 to kick all of those drugs. And I used cannabis in the process of kicking
Right.
those drugs. The third stage, and what brings me, I think, here today, is that once I left therapy and became more involved in the spiritual aspect of my practice, it came to my attention that the Fayette County Jail has been routinely drugging pretrial detainees and inmates with psychotropic medications. Um, 5 years ago, I did a study on the first quarter of 2018 at the Fayette County Jail. A full 45% of the medications coming into the jail were psychotropics or opioids.
Yeah.
Um, the problem is that as the inmates and pretrial detainees are drugged in order to keep them in order and to keep them quiet, when they are released, they are released with no medication. They're released as addicts with no medication and no means for obtaining
Yeah.
the medications that they've been addicted to.
Can you
Right.
talk closer to the mic?
I'm sorry.
Or you can
You're
even bring it. You can
yeah.
just pull it closer.
Sure. Sorry about that.
You're
Fine.
And that's when I became really involved.
Right.
Um, the first public statement that I made was in 2013 regarding the wholesale drugging of not just the jail, but the entire community.
Yeah.
Um, while I was in the hands of local behavioral health, I witnessed entire families being drugged, mothers, fathers, kids. The kids used to be able to go into a toy box. If they didn't give the doctor any trouble, they could go into the toy box and pick out a toy. And they all left happy with their scripts. Now, most of these kids are young men. They're young boys. They're girls are being medicated now, but not to the degree that boys are. And when these young men turn 18 and the Medicaid dollars dry up, again, they're left to their own devices. And this is why I do what I
Right.
do.
Right. No, that's definitely crazy to hear that people come out of that the Fayette County jail is even bringing in like opioids and
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
other
wild.
stuff.
I have a count. In fact, and well, not only do we have a problem with them bringing in opioids, we have a problem with opioids disappearing. We have inmates that are sent out for surgeries, medical treatment, so on and so forth, who come back with scripts for pain medication, and they don't see it.
Oh yeah, no, I
That's
never
weird.
knew that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I definitely never knew that.
yeah. It's the thing about it is it dates back generations. Uh, living having people live ill is way more profitable than having people live well.
Right.
And um, for
And they,
generations, Fayette County has profited.
yeah, they all make money off of it too. If
Yes,
they can
What's
put
up,
you on
Griffin?
something,
yes,
that's bringing in the
absolutely.
money. Especially like, and it's sad because it goes hand in hand almost with the prison system, where the more people that a prison can get in there, the more money they'll get funded from the state.
Absolutely,
Like they are
absolutely.
trying to put you in here because they're gonna get more money.
And there are some programs, there are some private prisons that will actually fine a community for not maintaining a certain number of inmates.
That's crazy.
Wow.
Oh yeah, it is. Incarceration is big business, and it's big business downtown.
I definitely know. Don't the Fayette County jail like, have like a lawsuit on them already for
So
like deplorable
too
living?
many to count. Too many to count.
count.
We've paid out hundreds of thousands of dollars
Mm-hmm.
as Fayette County taxpayers, and whether or not you pay income tax, you pay tax in Fayette County. If you buy
Right.
gas, you pay tax.
Right.
If you go to a restaurant, you pay tax.
Mm-hmm.
So don't let anybody tell you that you're not a taxpayer.
Right.
Yeah.
And Fayette County taxpayers are paying to addict individuals for profit.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Uh,
Definitely. Definitely knew that Fayette County jail is definitely one of the worst prisons in the eastern side of the country. So we,
yeah, yes, and it's intentional.
yeah,
It's intentional. The degradation of that jail has been intentional. Um, so yeah, that's kind of where I got my start. Was when I realized that we were addicting people for profit. It really became a thing for me, and I've been trying to sound the alarm since. Uh, and I guess I quit really sounding alarms, if you will, probably in 2020 when COVID hit, and that
right.
was when I kind of just things
That
kind of
slowed a lot of stuff down
it
though.
slowed
Yeah.
a lot of things
Yeah,
down.
that
Yeah,
slowed a lot of stuff down though in general.
and so rather than and then I just got to the point where I felt I developed a faith based initiative because I felt compelled to save lives,
Right. So
and I cannot apologize for that.
Especially
definitely,
when
you
like
shouldn't.
you were a major part of like a piece of the system at one point. You know what I mean? Like you were in the
Right.
behavior health field and
Yes,
everything.
yeah, it's
So
all from
you've seen,
experience.
yeah,
People
like
don't
you've
become
seen it.
usually don't become involved unless they are personally touched by an issue.
Right.
And I was personally touched by this issue, and that's why I do
So,
what I do.
do you got any like memorable moments you could say about like working?
Um,
Yeah, I know you've definitely been all over the place.
I I've yeah I try to spread the gospel, if you will, um, of the fact that cannabis heals.
Yeah.
So one of my biggest, I mean, I've given a lot of speeches in different venues. But I think one of the biggest kicks I got was I have an applause line that I really like, and that is that I am a healer, not a dealer.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and so I get a good kick out of people do appreciate that.
Right.
Yeah.
So I've done cannabis meetings in Virginia. Once Virginia decriminalized or attempted legalization, it was kind of a big old gray area down that way. Um, but I was involved in the legacy market, which is what we have renamed the black market. Um, because if not for the legacy market, there would be no legal market.
Yeah.
So,
There's like I'm pretty sure it's in New York. There's growers that have like just tons and tons of weed, and they can't get rid of it because the legalization thing is just slowing up so much. They're
yeah,
losing money, so they're turning to the legacy market,
yeah,
if you will, and because that's the only thing they can do.
that's all they can do. And every state's different. Like when Oregon legalized, there were no restrictions on grows and how many plants you could have and so on and so forth. So that market was saturated.
Hmm.
Cheap, I mean cheap weed.
Yeah,
And then of course you have other states that are a little more restrictive and they have very pricey legal weed,
yeah,
which is where we are in Fayette County. It's it's absolutely unconscionable that we are charging people $500 to make a medical decision.
Yeah,
It's unbelievable.
yeah, that's
that's
definitely
I
a lot
went
of
and
money.
got my card because I knew I would be able to get it,
Yeah.
but I didn't really need it. But I was like, I'll go get it just for kicks to see what's in the dispensary. And it's by the end of it, it was like $375, and I'm like,
It's
$375 just
ridiculous.
so I can have a card. Like I didn't even get my weed yet.
Right. Yeah, and it's I believe it's a violation of our 14th Amendment rights to equal protection. It's other states are protected, other counties are protected. Um, and this is everything that happens in Fayette County is 100% arbitrary.
Yeah.
So, and it's definitely personality driven.
Yeah, very much.
So
Yeah,
that's
I've always told like my parents aren't too big on like weed, so I've always told my parents like it's a plant, like it's from the
exactly.
earth. Like I feel like we're only supposed to consume things that were from the earth or grow out the ground. You know what I mean?
And
Like
like I'll even take it a step further because some people out there, because I know there's those, super hardcore just want to call weed a bad drug no
Yeah.
matter what, and their
Yeah.
argument to that is always like, well, heroin and cocaine start out as a plant too, but you have to manufacture that.
right,
Weed, I can grow it in my backyard, cut it,
smoke
it
it,
as
Yeah.
soon as it dries, which is not manufacturing, I'm good.
right?
So it's like you can't
You
really
can't.
argue with
Yeah,
that.
you can't compare. There is no comparison. Um, there are no tests out there to indicate that THC is in any way detrimental.
Yeah, definitely.
They can't even the state can't even produce driving tests that indicate impairment.
Right.
So they're just going on the DUI, the driving under the
Yeah.
influence of marijuana, is likened to the alcohol laws because they have not been able.
And there's a state, I was just actually looking at this maybe 2 days ago. There was a state that was training their officers. They did like all these officers got together and they smoked weed so they can learn like what it's like to be high, because they said that they understand that there's going to be drivers that are high, but they're not in
Impaired.
impairment.
Right.
And then there might be drivers that are just so high that they shouldn't be behind the wheel, and they need to be able to determine that difference, or else you're going to just get old Joe Schmo that's taking his medication and going to work is going to end up in handcuffs every other Tuesday because he can't stop taking his medication, or he may have seizures.
Yeah.
Like my cousin is I'm not positive on her position, so I can't really say exactly, but I know she's like higher up in Matry, and like her daughter, I'm pretty sure uses RSO and stuff. You know what I mean? It's like it's obviously an important thing. People need this because I've seen multiple cases on Facebook, wherever, where a kid's having all these seizures. They start taking that stuff, and it's like, oh my god, magic! Hasn't
Yeah.
happened in
But
months and months.
insurance doesn't cover it, and it's not affordable to the general public.
Yeah,
And
it's
that's a
definitely
problem.
not
That is a
affordable.
problem.
Yeah, but speaking on like as far as impairment, like I've never smoked weed and felt like I was impaired in any way. Like if anything, I've been like more focused or like more inclined to
That's
Yeah.
do some
that's
shit.
been the
Like
results of the studies is that drivers are actually more focused.
yeah, it calms me
Yeah.
down. Like I'll be more likely to be like I'm gonna just drive normal and get where I'm going instead of being like, oh, I'm nervous. Like This car might hit me, or I might turn too wide, or anything. So it's definitely never been like an impairment issue
Yeah,
for
I've
me.
never had an issue driving
Never, bro.
high.
Never, bro.
And
Might
I
be a little bit
refuse
slower.
to. That's
Yeah.
I don't even really.
That's even
That's when you
safer.
drop the
Yeah,
speed
like
limit.
yeah, right. I might be going 35 and a 35 instead of 55 and a 35.
Exactly.
So
And I won't even. I barely drink anymore because like I refuse to even get in a car because I can't even risk
yeah, facts.
me getting hurt or going to jail over something dumb like, oh, I decided to go have a couple drinks and now I'm going
Yeah,
home and I have
right.
work in the morning.
Yeah,
It's unreal.
definitely though.
I have met a lot of really, really great people, veterans.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, and the one thing that I've discovered about marijuana in general is that it is the probably the most cross cultural item uh, in our focus right now. There isn't a subset of society that doesn't have some kind of vested interest in the plant.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So white, black, it just rich, poor, male,
Yeah.
female. It just doesn't matter.
And especially even now more so in the recent because I've been smoking since I was like 8, 9 years old. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've been doing it since I was young. And so I've watched it become like go from, oh, that's dope. That, the terrible
Yeah.
stigmata that it started with to it's just so open now pretty much anywhere. It's like it's impossible to come across somebody that either doesn't know somebody that does or they themselves haven't tried it at least.
Yeah.
It's absolutely cross cultural
Mhm.
and touches everybody in a
For sure.
positive way.
So does it ever like do you ever get like annoyed at people who abuse drugs? Like
Well, I don't consider marijuana a drug.
right.
Like you said earlier, it's a plant.
Yeah, right.
So that's kind of a loaded question. Um, I don't judge people who use whatever it is that they choose to use.
Right.
As long as it doesn't, as long as that use slash abuse does not enter the public arena and become a problem for the community.
Right.
Yeah.
Individual problems are one thing, but when we have problems with our elected officials and our appointed officials
Mhm.
and those who receive taxpayer funded paychecks, that's when I have a problem.
Right. Yeah. That's definitely
So
understandable.
if you want to run for office, be clean.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you want a taxpayer funded job, be clean.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to smoke, then go do something else.
Right.
It's real simple.
Yeah. Speaking on if you want to run for office and be clean, they definitely found cocaine in the White House,
Yeah,
in
I
the
saw
west
that.
wing of the White House, and they said 2 times before that they found marijuana in there, but they never told the public. So people they're using. Everybody uses it.
Yeah.
Everybody
Everybody.
uses it. They legalize it in the NBA. All of that.
Even
But yeah, definitely a wide variety of people using marijuana.
most definitely.
All variety of people.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. And for different reasons, but it's all it's either physically or spiritually therapeutic. There is no other way around it. Like even if you smoke, just laugh.
Yeah. I
That's
don't see a
therapeutic.
problem with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all therapeutic.
Yeah, you're at least finding, not to say that there isn't joy other places, but you at least found that one place.
If it gives you 15 minutes of peace, that's all some people need just to get to the next day.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The number of overdoses, the number of suicides, the number of homicides in this community are just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's a spiritual and moral wasteland. And it starts at the top. It starts in the courthouse.
Right.
Mhm.
It starts downtown. And until integrity is never going to trickle down to this community, we have to force integrity into positions of power.
Yeah,
That's the only thing that's going to save this community.
we
Yeah.
definitely need more foot soldiers doing work as far as pushing anything towards the community that we, because around here a lot of stuff don't get handled the way it's supposed to.
Well, because there's everybody has meetings. We have meetings every week. There's meetings
Right.
up in East End. There's meetings downtown. There's meetings everywhere, but there's no action.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing.
None.
No action takes place to alleviate the pain, the addiction, the trauma, it. So why keep having these meetings? So somebody has to act, and I
Yeah,
think that's what I personally have been doing.
like even, and I'm not sure if this statistic or number still holds up, but once upon a time I was told that like even our police technology is like 10 years prior than like everywhere else.
Yeah.
So
We're
it's
we're the
Whoa.
second
That's
second
crazy, bro.
depending on who's doing the counting. We live in either a first, second, or third poorest county in the
Yeah.
state of Pennsylvania,
and
and we've been left
That's
for
wild.
dead by Harrisburg. There's
and
no
it's,
Hell
doubt.
yeah.
and it's crazy that like you see these people that have this money, and I can't say, I don't do enough research to say like, oh, this person is corrupt or that person isn't
Right.
corrupt or whatever, but it's like you see these select few that have a bunch of money, and it's like, oh, they also happen to be the South Union Township supervisor. Hypothetically, I'm not saying that person
I
specifically.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
I'm just like, those are the types of, you
Yeah.
just start seeing people as like, oh, treasurer or this or that, and it's like, it's kind of just seems strange.
It's intentional. It's intentional. For example, downtown, and the row offices that are coming up for election in November, the red and blue dynamic means nothing. There's no Republican or Democratic way to register a will. There's no Republican or Democratic way to manage a prothonotari's office. There is no Republican or Democratic way to prosecute criminal cases. Like it just, you need people of integrity.
Yeah.
You need people who have a moral compass.
Yeah, it should be who's the best person, not who's the best person on this side or that
Exactly,
side.
exactly.
Yeah.
Particularly now, of course, when you start getting into state elections and federal elections, of course, that red blue dynamic is going to matter because there are different. Everybody has a different idea of how
Yeah,
things
those
should
are,
go.
for lack of a
But
better
locally,
term, major politics,
Yeah.
where these are local politics.
locally, this red blue dynamic does not matter. For somebody to vote for a Democrat for a local office because they're a Democrat, regardless of their personal failures, that's a partisan hack. That is not a serious voter.
No.
It's just a party. It's just a partier. So we got a big problem with that.
So, what do you think about, like, why you think the law enforcement just tried to focus, like they tend to focus more on drugs, like as far as medical drugs, like medicinal drugs, instead of taking down bigger problems and shit that we really have around here, like.
Well, one of the problems that we have with prescription drugs is the number of senior citizens on opioids who can't afford rent, and that is how a lot of the uh, pills are getting out into circulation.
Yeah.
Is because we have a tremendous number of seniors who are facing either homelessness, starvation, lack of ability to buy other medications, more life sustaining type medications, and they're selling their pills. And that's how they're ending up in our streets.
Yeah, that definitely sounds about right.
Yeah.
That, and I see a lot of like, especially this crazy, wild story happened to me. Um, my dad calls me one morning, and he's like, "Hey, you may want to open your door and go out, and you know how in my basement there's like that little canopy thing."
Yeah.
And he was like, "Just walk out and peek your head around the wall. There's 5, 6 SUVs. They got a map out on the hood of the son of a bitch. Like they were set up to raid somebody." And I was like, "Oh Jesus!" and they went up the street and raided this guy that was growing. And it's like, I understand to some extent, maybe I mean, it is illegal
Yeah.
quotations, but
Yeah.
like, there's a lot of bigger problems around here than
Exactly,
shit
bro.
like that.
Yeah.
Like, how much money did you spend on that raid? And you probably, it wasn't worth it
I always say
financially.
this.
Like, you're getting chewed out now. And most of the time, it ends up being right around the same time of the year when elections are about to start.
Yeah.
I always say this, bro. There was
People
a
got to make
girl.
themselves look good.
There was a girl found dead downtown, like around like last year sometime, and she was found under a bridge. Her body was abused. They said she was raped and everything. Never solved it. Like the case never got solved. And I know the people's whose sister it is. I don't know him, like talk to him, but they're friends with my younger siblings, so I know them through there. And they used to sell like I don't know if y'all know what cool cups are, but like they used to sell like ices out of their house or whatever, like $1.50, some shit like that. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, like they stick constantly raiding. You constantly see them. Like neighborhood crime watch will tell you all the time, bro. The police are in Walmart parking lot. It's 3 in the morning. There's 8 cars. They're about to raid. It happens 2-3 times a week. I remember they raided Persian Court twice in the same week. So it's like they raid
They're
constantly,
always
but
in Paris.
there's way deeper and heavier situations going on around here that they never focus on or like they never get to, and it makes you wonder why. Because I know one time I got caught in a high speed chase and I had like an eighth of weed on me, but the cop was just telling me like, bro, if it's weed, we don't care. Like he was like, if you have some weed, we don't care, like type shit. So I just got away with some good cops. And another time after that, I was in a car with some weed, and it was the same cop that
Hmm.
got me that night, but he had beat me up that night. That was the thing about it. So he was trying to be nice. He be trying to be nice to me when he sees me. Like he be trying to be nice to me all the time now or whatever. So he seen me that time and he was like, I don't care about the weed. He was like, you could just go ahead. Like it don't matter. You could do whatever you want. Go ahead.
You know how many times Facebook has found a missing person before the cops?
Bro,
Bro,
every time.
so many times.
Every time, bro. It's crazy.
Neighborhood
bro.
crime watch would be faster than them.
Bro, neighborhood crime watch be on point.
On
Right
point.
on it, bro. Right on it, bro. But I'm telling you, it's crazy where you see where law enforcement's heads at. Like they don't even. It's like they don't even care about the bigger problems or bigger situations that are going on. They focus on little stuff that they know they can be consistent with.
Mhm. Just a bunch of low wins.
Mm-hmm. And they ain't really doing shit for real. Like
At all.
Like, get this, every weekend, religiously. Just depends on what time of the day. DOT sits at the very bottom of the summit, trying to pick up truckers that may be over their logbook hours, because like you have to
Mhm.
sleep certain hour, like you can't just keep driving. They try to catch motherfuckers that are either rushing home or rushing out from home,
Yeah.
and it's always the summit because Maryland, everything funnels right down
It's
to it.
it's revenue generating, and they set up anytime they set up. They don't give a shit about speeders. This is revenue generating.
Yep.
They're looking for bad plates. They're looking for no insurance. They're looking for
Yeah.
things that people in Fayette County cannot afford.
Yeah, if they get you for
It's a
speeding,
way to
it's
be
because-
consistent, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if they get you for speeding, it's because you're going so fast that they can hit you with other shit.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of the city of Uniontown having to pay twice for police protection for. And you look at the conditions in Uniontown, and what are you guys paying for, really?
Literally,
Like,
bro.
not only do you pay city tax for the Uniontown Police Department, which, anyway, you pay for the state police protection as well. And you have the city of Uniontown has basically two police forces available to them, and it is the most violent small town in America right now. Explain this. Make it make sense to us.
Yeah.
Make it make sense.
Yeah.
This is the most dangerous small town in America. But we have two police forces for what, 15,000 people?
Right. I think it's less than that. I think we have like
Probably it is probably less
I
than
think
that
it's
now.
like 9,000.
And really,
Yeah.
for the most part, you can like cut out hopwood because hopwood there isn't very much trouble there, and if so, it's probably a redneck of some sort.
Well, and,
Yeah.
and even so, everybody comes in from the outside and comes into town to do their dirt.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And,
Mhm.
yeah,
All
But
the
the-
bullshit happens in town.
yeah,
Every time.
100%. And you got two police two police forces, and no help. It's insane. It's insane.
So how long have you been like doing this? Like
I have been I've been an ordained minister for 13 years since 2010.
right.
I have been a practicing pagan since 1996.
Okay.
So I became ordained in order to provide jail services.
right.
Um, and I was approved. I mean, I know there's been some questions about my credentials and so forth. So I did bring copies of my credentials in case anybody has any questions.
Right.
Yeah.
And I also brought
She's official. She's official, y'all.
I brought receipts.
Professional.
I mean, I've been doing this. I'm not playing. And I brought the receipts.
Right.
Yeah.
So again, I have been again an ordained minister for 13 years, and I have been counseling people for that long. I've taken what's called dialectical behavior therapy, which was a model developed by Dr. Marshall Linehan. It's a combination of Eastern philosophy and your old school behavior modification. And while it has a lot of like technical jargon and so on and so forth, what I've tried to do is attempted to turn it into a fully faith-based model for behavior modification, emotion regulation, things like that. And I've also engaged in conflict resolution. I've had people come to me who have been in some serious beefs,
Yeah.
and we've been able to work them out. So I take a lot of pride in that too.
Definitely. You should.
So through the and I have 6 sons, so I don't have a lot of experience with girls, but you got your generation. Your generation, I've watched too many of you die.
Right.
I've watched too many of my sons go to funerals. And that is another motivating factor
Yeah.
for my activity.
Yeah, it's crazy. I definitely tend to think at times where like, like you're just a kid and everything's just all right. You don't even believe in stuff like people dying and stuff like that, bro.
Yeah.
But the recent years, bro, the recent like shit like 7 years around here, bro, have been bad as far as people dying. Like, and it ain't even been a lot of it ain't even been from violence or anything like that. Some of it's been car accidents. I lost so many friends to car accidents, family members to just random incidents and stuff like that. So it's definitely like but we had like this gloomy cloud over us for a minute, and I
Mhm.
feel like more or less it's starting to get a little bit better, but it's still loose ends that need tied up as far as people doing their part in the community. Like
Yeah.
we need to open up us just the community as a whole again, because
The
a lot of stuff
community
that
as
been
a
going
whole
on.
is just hateful.
We're just blind.
Spiteful.
It's not even like blinded. We're just like reckless. It's like a bunch of reckless kids, bro. Like that's
Mhm.
like what the generation is now,
That's
and
the
even with
thing
the
is-
adults too, though. Like it's like
That's a lack of hope, though. When you can't see a future,
yeah,
you don't behave like you have a future.
right, right. Yeah, no,
Um,
you're right.
And that's kind of what we've done to the planet.
Yeah,
It's kind of the same dynamic that we've done to the planet. We've treated it as it's disposable.
definitely. Yeah, like we could just go somewhere else or something.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I've heard if over the years I've heard, well, if you don't like it here, why don't you? I don't. And it's like this everywhere. Well, I don't
Yeah.
live everywhere. I live
Right.
here.
Right.
And this is where I need to make a difference.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
So, and people have been trying to stop me for years, and they're obviously continuing to try to stop me, but it's not gonna work, I don't think.
So like people trying, you got people. We should know you got people trying to stop you, but
Yeah.
like as far as like support, you got like family and friends behind you as far
Oh,
as anything you do?
absolutely. I couldn't do this without. So I couldn't do it without support.
Right.
I
Yeah.
couldn't. Um, and I've had a lot of support over the years. I mean, I've gone to commissioners meetings, jail board meetings,
Yeah.
just every meeting every meeting I could think of to go to, and I've spoken and I've said these things, and nobody's, and it just right over people's heads. It's like
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. We're gonna do it this way because this is the way we've been doing it, and that's that, and go away.
That's one of our biggest problems that I know of in this town is that people are stuck in like this generational thing where like, well, our fathers think that this is bad, so we think it's bad, and we're
Yeah.
gonna teach our sons that it's bad, and
Change
it's
is
just like that.
scary
It
for
just
that
stays
generation.
like
Right?
that.
Yeah, it's horrible. It's horrible. I'm old, so it doesn't really matter as much to me. But you guys are stuck in this dynamic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it's like being in quicksand,
Right.
and you're watching people sink to your right. You're watching them sink to your left, and there's not a damn thing you can do about it
Yeah.
because they won't let you.
Yeah.
You know, it's better and more profitable for our community to live ill
Yeah.
than it is for us to live well.
Yeah,
So,
definitely. They're probably making a shit ton of money, and we're just
oh, absolutely.
sitting back.
And
I-
it's all the way from the doctor that prescribes it to you making his money
Yep.
off the insurance, all the way up to, again, when it leads you to that point, the jail or
Mm-hmm.
whatever else it is.
They built a prison right across the street from the hospital.
Yeah.
Where they do that at?
Well, I mean, it was better than where they were going to originally put it. So,
Where was
at
they going to
least
originally put it at?
back in, I want to say 2013, 2014, Fayette County had this grand plan to build a prison industrial complex in Dunbar Township, which would have a justice center, your jail, just different. Like
Yeah.
it was this big, huge investment that was going to cost taxpayers like we never could have paid for it.
Right.
Plus, it was being built on top of an old mine shaft that had already experienced settling.
Wow.
So the chances of it being like still being above ground in 10 years were slim to none
Yeah.
anyway.
Right.
I'd like to say that I am or was a part of the crew that shut down the plans for that jail,
Right.
which made them rethink the whole thing.
You got some real accolades.
And
Mhm.
I've been I've been banging my head against this brick wall for a long time.
Right.
Like every
And-
time that I like see a prison or think about like whenever they were talking about building the prison, I always think about because it's just one of my random worries is like, so what happens when someone escapes? Because at some point in time it's inevitable. So Dunbar, well, that's just terrible because now you're in the Dunbar Mountains. Try to find them.
Right.
like,
yeah.
Try to find them now. And where it is now, it's like God forbid I give anyone a plan or anything, but it's like, okay, I break out, I run over to the hospital. If I can get in there quick enough and stuff, all it takes is me to snatch up one nurse
Yeah.
and change clothes.
The thing
For
you have
sure.
to consider though is that the Fayette County Jail and why they called it a prison over the years was a purely financial decision
Mm.
because they got more grant money by
Yeah.
calling it a prison. It's always been a jail. Nobody's sentenced there for more than 2 years. Half are pretrial detainees, people that owe money. This is another thing that makes me crazy. It's a debtor's jail basically, as well. So we gotta do something about that. And like I said, I was part of a group that managed to shut down the prison industrial complex that they were planning to build and made them settle for a smaller jail, which I can't say is not needed because they intentionally
Yeah.
degraded the one downtown to the point that it was not able to be used.
Yeah.
So that was intentional to get themselves a new jail.
Yeah, like I said, bro, they said the one downtown's deplorable living. Like
Mhm.
sometimes the water ain't on. All
Yeah,
types.
there's no doubt
Just
that
look
it's a
at it.
horrible situation.
It just
Yeah,
looks
there was
old.
areas that were just flooded, sewage was backing up and just filling places with shit. Like, it was
Yeah,
Well,
bro.
we kept we kept a mentally ill gentleman in the basement of that jail. Again, and he was held against the law, against Pennsylvania law, because mentally ill inmates are not supposed to be held downtown. But anyway, they couldn't handle him, so they put him in the basement in what's called the SMU Special Management Unit. He was in there. He was arrested for trespassing. A $50 bail would have released him. Instead, he spent over a year in the basement of the jail in the dark with
Bro,
raw
what?
sewage up to his ankles, to the point where
What?
he was making conversation pieces from his own feces, and
Bro.
then got to the point where he was actually consuming his own feces. Um,
Bro,
and
that's terrible, bro.
it, it's yeah, it is. It is
Bro,
terrible,
that's terrible,
and
bro.
it goes on, and nobody does anything about it. As many churches as we have in this community, for a man to devolve in the basement of that jail to the point where he was eating his own feces
Yeah.
is unacceptable. It took it took us, a group of us, 2 tries to get a CO fired after he turned a fire hose, on an inmate who was missing a portion of his brain. Again,
What?
housed illegally. The UMWA provided the CO with an attorney at, I'm sure, union cost
Yeah.
to save his job. And we were eventually able to get him fired. The fact that we had to go through everything that we had to go through to have him fired for turning a fire hose on a man who was missing a part of his brain,
Bro, that's just disgusting, bro.
That's
I can't.
insane.
It's obscene. Yeah, it is, and it goes on all the time. And then these and then these men, because this isn't a jail where people go for 20 years. Like,
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is, it's just a little jail.
Yeah.
But they're witnessing they're being dehumanized on a daily basis, and they're being sent back into the communities. And then we wonder why these people become violent.
Mm-hmm.
I would say,
Mhm.
think about how many of our friends, for real, be for real for a minute. How many of our friends have come back and said some fucked up
Off the
shit
wall shit, yeah.
about
It's
jail?
likely true.
Yeah. Even just growing up, I always heard that, like, I knew for a fact that's what shied me away from doing a lot of shit, because I'm like, bro, I don't want to go to jail. The stories I've
Yeah.
heard from it, like, bro, I do not want to be down there. So then,
And if I
for
do go to
people
jail,
I know,
I'm running all the way to Pittsburgh before I do, because you ain't about to hold me in
Yeah.
fucking Uniontown shit.
You better read up on Allegheny County before you get, might want to go the other way.
Yeah, Alligator County's
Says-
crazy. This shit.
Yeah.
Anything got to be better than shit water.
Well, yeah, that's true too. But the thing is that it's the dehumanization, and again, it goes to the spiritual and moral decay of the community, because we dehumanize the weakest and most vulnerable
Mm-hmm.
in our community
Yeah.
as a matter of routine, and we don't think anything of it.
And then they all got to find something to lash at. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At some point, it's got to come out somewhere.
Yes,
And
that's
some it
exactly
comes out into violence, and some it comes out into drugs.
or
Yeah.
both.
Yeah.
So what we have going on in this community, it's an ongoing degradation, and until we can stop the avenues of the degradation, it's just going to continue. Now, my focus has been the jail and psychotropic medications, like that. That's my niche. That's where I kind of drew my line. There are so many other angles. Like, for example, if you're in the Fayette County Jail, and because there are no rich people in jail, let's
Yeah.
eliminate that right there. There are no rich people in that Fayette County
Yeah,
Jail.
there are costs to things in this town.
Yeah. But because we have outsourced things like phone calls and commissary and all the things, little things like that have been outsourced, we're charging already poor people ridiculous amounts of money to stay in touch with their loved ones,
Yeah.
when we could manage. It's a small facility. There's no reason we could not manage the phone calls.
Yeah.
There's no reason we could not manage the commissary. There's no reason that one of the churches downtown couldn't develop a program to where they supplied the underwear for the female inmates, and
Yeah.
their church across the street could
They
develop a
said for
program.
females, it's worse down there.
Oh, horrible. Like there are too many churches in this community for it to be in the condition that it's in.
Right.
And I'm
Yeah.
calling out these churches right
Yeah.
here and right now. Y'all are failing. You all are failing this community.
As a community, bro, we definitely need people. I know people who run churches with power and resources to help in a lot of situations. They know people, they know how to help, they know what they could do. They're just not.
Right.
So that's the thing about it. It's not
Right.
even like there's a financial issue. It's not like there's a issue on support or any of that. They're just not doing it. They're
Yeah.
focused on different things.
Mhm.
We have enough churches in Fayette County that if each one adopted an inmate, their families would not suffer. Their families would be able to talk to them. They would be able to eat
Yeah.
properly. Uh, and they would come out of the facility less angry and
Yeah.
less ready to take revenge on the
Yeah,
community.
definitely.
And the churches don't pay taxes.
No, they don't. Which is one of the reasons that I've always I was a very strong proponent of the separation of church and state. So it's very difficult for me to take my spirituality to the government.
Mm.
Like I've always, but I'm to the point now where I don't have a choice anymore. And I'm calling out the churches. I'm calling out the local Christians. Where are you?
Right.
Where are you? You're not here.
Yeah, definitely ain't show up.
No,
definitely
they
ain't
don't show up for anything
Right.
except unless, of course, there's
Sunday service.
yeah, and it's see and be seen.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah.
say they show up on Sunday to go gamble Monday.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Or Sunday afternoon, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
literally.
Yeah.
Literally.
So yeah, I'm out of patience. Really. I'm out of patience with this entire community.
That's understandable. You've been,
Very
like
understandable.
I said, you're a veteran in this game when it comes to this. So
Yes, I am.
you should be more than fed up as long as you've been working towards something like this.
I've sacrificed a great deal. You
Yeah.
know, I've put up with a lot of abuse. Um, I've sacrificed blood, sweat, and tears for this community.
Right.
And
Hell, in some instances, peace of mind.
yeah,
Mhm.
Right.
yeah.
Which nobody else is doing.
But it's that important to me. Like watching my sons suffer because their friends are suffering. I can't
Right.
and I can't why would I sit back
Yeah.
Yeah.
and let that happen when I know that I can do something?
Yeah.
You know, whether it's speaking out, whether it's whatever it is I do. Um I'm doing the right thing by this community. And I feel like
For
I'm
sure.
alone a lot of the time.
Yeah. It's crazy, bro. It's crazy the I'm glad we have somebody like you in the community because like I said, we don't have nobody else doing nothing like that. So for
I've
people to
been
be as kind hearted as you, like I definitely wanted to ask, like when you get the chance to talk to I'll like I don't know whether I should call him a patient or just a friend or however you would address him, but whenever you get the
there are
chance to
people come to me, I take people as they come.
right,
So for me to call somebody a congregant might be a little presumptuous. So
Right.
I don't really call them anything like friends.
right,
Yeah.
yeah.
Friends. I
So-
do consider the people that I deal with to be friends. Yes.
Do you try to focus on more like a mental level when you're talking to them, or like is it just like just genuine conversation will lead to one thing or the other?
It all depends on how somebody comes to me. Like if they come to me asking for help, I will determine which course of action would be best to help them.
Right.
Whether it would be like a mental health kind of path, a spiritual kind of path, or another kind of path.
Yeah.
Um, so I take people as they come to me. Like I don't have any set way of dealing with somebody. I deal with them as they present.
Just out of curiosity, this just randomly hit my mind. Have you ever um been able to help someone maybe go to like a detox center or a rehab and seen like the progression that they made because you were the one to be able to have that talk with them? Because like I imagine that
I
there's
have
some
been-
people
I have
can't
been
go
taken-
straight from opiates to natural.
I've been taking in people for close to 30 years now. I've taken in a lot of people over the years, never through an agency, just on my own. And the answer to your question would be yes, I have. Rehab, it's tough for me because of it's all about the money. Again,
Yeah.
we're back to the same
I know a
thing.
lot of
Like,
people end
you
up on methadone and stuff
yeah,
like
and
that.
Suboxone, and well, that and Suboxone.
Yeah.
Suboxone's harder to kick than heroin.
Yeah.
What are we doing? What are we doing?
Yeah, I
Making
guess
money.
Crazy.
I
Yeah,
guess rehab
you.
wouldn't
Money.
be.
making money.
I guess rehab as a facility wouldn't be the right term for the question. I guess really the way I'd be putting it is, and you had already answered it, yes, is like, have you helped somebody?
I've had people detox in my home.
Yeah,
Yes.
like go
Yes.
from because like I said, not everybody's able to just be like, all right, I'm done with.
And not everybody can afford rehab.
Yeah, so they end up withdrawing and then going back into relapse, or I've known some friends because I'll be 32 in December, so I went through the real original opiate crisis
Yep.
when shit was bad. When Opana 40s around here were going for $80 a piece, and I watched people spend $560 a day just to stay high and stealing, whatever they could. And I know friends that locked themselves in their room for weeks and self detox because they couldn't take it no more.
Yeah.
So it's like I know there has to be some.
It's very dangerous to detox by yourself.
Yeah. But there has to be some kind of like. And I don't say this in the sense that like you do this to gain this feeling, but there has to be some sense of self gratification out of it. Like it's great to see that you helped somebody better their life.
As I got older and as I was raising sons in this atmosphere, the best way for me to do that was to always attempt to do the right thing in any circumstance, because I felt like leading by example was the best way for me to get them to a functional adulthood, basically, and doing the right thing. And it just became a habit. I suppose it wasn't easy in the beginning to just, forget about what I wanted or what was convenient or easy for me, and to take that step and maybe do the right thing, whether it was apologize for something I did or fix a mistake or any number of things.
Yeah, and that's the crazy thing about this area is a lot of people have their parents, and this isn't, I'm not trying to sound like an ass, but there's a big lacking of parental upbringing.
Yeah.
Like I know a lot of people that are angry probably just because one or the other wasn't, they probably existed in
Yeah.
that same household, but were they really around?
I mean, there are several of my sons could say the same thing. I mean, I spent from 2006 to 2010 basically in a psychotropic coma.
But you also were able to, start being that, for lack of a better term, parental figure for others.
Yeah, I like to think that I still maintained as best I could.
Yeah.
Under those circumstances, they tell me I did a good job, but that's all subjective. I cannot critique myself. I just know that I did the best I could with what I was given by this community to work with, and which wasn't much.
Yeah, because it's not like once someone gets fully clean and like back ready to be a part of society, it's not like it's easy to stay away from a lot of them. You know what I mean? Like, what for someone that's 21 and older, what's their favorite thing to do on the weekend?
Drink,
Go to the bar.
That's
what we have to do in Uniontown. Go to the bar. Kids don't even have genuine arcades anymore. I remember pocket change. Like, I'm so old, I remember pocket change. And nowadays we have an arcade in the mall, but it's a money
not
grabber.
occupied,
Every
yeah.
single game, it's like Chuck E. Cheese, it's like Dave and Buster. You go in, you get some tickets, and then you get a prize. You paid $20 for a $3 little spinny thing.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's a money grab. Pocket Change was a genuine arcade. Nowadays, I know kids that'll be like, "Man, I can't wait till I'm 21." Bro, you're like 12.
Right.
Like, what are you? Why are you so
Right.
worried about drinking right now? You should be worried about literally anything else. Go
Yeah.
outside and eat mud. God damn it.
Well,
Yeah.
alcohol is a serious issue in this community.
Yeah, it's
Definitely
Absolutely.
is, bro.
Now we have had, I'm catching hell right now for complaining about one of our candidates for district attorney being a drinker. We've had in the past, in my lifetime at least, that I know of, 3 district attorneys over the years who have been drunks,
Right.
practicing alcoholics,
Right.
for lack of a better phrase. Um, that to me is unacceptable. It is absolutely unacceptable.
Yeah, especially when like if something happens with them as far as like maybe getting caught or getting into an accident or something, it's like, oh well, after a little while, it's just like
Yeah.
they make a big deal out of it at first. It hits the paper, and then trials never come, or it gets pushed back, postponed.
We have a tendency to celebrate our alcoholics, and we have a tendency to jail our plant users.
Yeah. Yeah. I wanted to say this about my dad. He's gonna hate me for this because he just told me the other day. He said, he
You ain't gonna be
said,
on there just talking about
he
me.
said, I walk in the house. He said, "Hey, whenever y'all get rich for that podcast, I'm gonna need some money." And I'm like, "What you say that for?" And he's like, "So I ain't gonna be on there just telling stories about me all day." 'Cause
We were
definitely, we tell 4 or 5 stories about him a
every
week.
time.
But my dad was, I mean, I would have to call him a drunk, like an alcoholic, because they was going to the bar every night. Well, my mom's a bartender, so he was like more or less security, but they were
Yeah.
drinking. But the thing I wanted to say was that he was never like an aggressive drunk. Like he was always like if anything, he was more aggressive sober. Like it was like when he drunk, he would be like chilled out, cool, laughing, one joke with everybody and like stuff like that. So
Mhm.
when people drink, it all depends on how you react off of the alcohol instead of me more or less being like I don't think you should drink. But I definitely feel like people of like governmental people and people that's have big parts to play in the community, there's no way you should be doing any sort of alcohol, and especially on a consistent basis, like as far as like
And it's not even a matter of going out after work and having a couple of drinks. It's a matter of performing your duties while drunk.
right,
Mhm.
yeah,
And
yeah,
that's a
you can't do
big
shit
problem.
like that, yeah,
That's a big problem.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, we've had Nancy Vernon was a practicing alcoholic while she was DA, and she's a judge now.
right, yeah.
Why?
Nancy was my
Why?
judge.
Jack Hennix, the DA before Bauer, practicing alcoholic,
Yeah,
known by Herald Standard reporters, known by the judges, known by the court administrator to be a practicing alcoholic, walked through the courthouse under the influence and still was elected twice.
That's crazy.
It's insane. It's insane. Absolutely insane.
yeah,
That
bro.
we do this to ourselves repeatedly.
It's crazy, bro. Like, just to sit back and think about, like, this is our community, bro. Like, this the city we live in and grew up in, bro. Is unbelievable. Cause,
Mhm.
like I said, growing up the way we did, we don't think about even a lot of this shit until we start coming around and educating ourselves on shit like that. Like being in a podcast setting opened my eyes to a lot of different topics and conversations about anything going on in the world, just as far as the community, but in the world. Like, so to know that even here we got some of the most deplorable living conditions and schemy people working behind the community and government officials and shit like that, like, or it's just no, it's like it's crazy to think about.
There's profit
For
in
sure.
keeping us down.
Yeah,
There's money to be made in keeping us down.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro, it's definitely crazy, bro. It's definitely crazy.
Well, I'd like to see your generation be the change. Like, are
Yeah.
you registered to vote?
I'm definitely not.
You should be
I'm
registered to
definitely
vote.
not. Yeah, I should. I'm
This
registered. I just
podcast,
never
your
did.
listeners, your generation, you guys could register and drive to the polls more people than show up now
Yeah,
for local elections.
yeah,
You guys could motivate, register, and drive to the polls enough of your peers
Hmm.
to put an end to this shit.
yeah. You're right. You're right. It's definitely people our age need to take more action as well too.
Yeah.
That's a
Like I
major
said, we
thing
need
that,
we need
It's-
more
like, we
foot
need in the
soldiers.
community as a whole is just support.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
It doesn't really matter what you're doing as far as like, and there are the exceptions. Before I say this, there are the exceptions because I know there will be people that'll be like, no, my shit's good, my shit's good, but you can't even make like a clothing brand. You can't open up a store. Like, you know how many of the nicest little coffee shops or like little ice cream place that had opened up in it, like they all closed down within a couple months, a year, 2 years because there's no support.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? The
yeah.
community just doesn't care anymore.
There's no reason for them to. For two, 3 generations now, we have nothing to show. What kind of hope have we offered to you guys? None.
Exactly.
None.
And
And
that's,
It's
if
been
if if
terrible.
anything, we've snatched hope right out of your hands
yeah.
as a matter of routine.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's why I tried to originally start the podcast. Was like, try to make some kind of a change. I know we only for the most part was interviewing local artists and everything, but even just that, trying to get their name out a little bit, you know what I mean, trying to help promote somebody, even that's just enough to show them like, yo, someone gives a shit.
right.
You know what I mean?
If one person does it, bro, we can pull up everybody else out the hole. Like that's how I always look
It
at it. So,
it does it. It's a process.
yeah,
It's a process. I've had success before. Like I've had ebbs and flows. Like I've had really successful years. I've had some not so successful years.
yeah,
But you, you just got to keep pushing because there's
yeah,
maybe this is gonna break it out.
yeah.
You know,
Right.
maybe not. Maybe I got to do another one. You know,
Hey, we're
Maybe I-
always welcome to have you back.
Yeah, definitely.
I'd be happy to
Yeah,
come,
definitely.
especially once I get all of this stuff
Yeah.
behind me,
Yeah, we have to do
and
a
then we
pre
can
and post.
really talk about
Yeah, a pre and post would
yeah,
be great.
because I am kind of limited in what I can say right now.
Right.
So
I just want to say we're an hour in. If you're tuned in and you're watching, you're commenting, like, subscribe, share. Definitely an interesting podcast tonight. Special guest on here. And all I can say is, yeah, just subscribe. Tune
Yeah,
into
we
our
greatly
YouTube channel.
appreciate you guys sticking it out
Definitely
with us,
appreciate it.
still being here, still kicking it. This is it's definitely one of my favorites out of all the podcasts I've done because I've on the YouTube right now we're what 182 videos in. So that's 176 podcasts.
Right.
And this is definitely my favorite because it hits local. It's not like, you know what I mean, like
Mhm.
artists are
It's like it
awesome
is
to
my problem.
interview.
Right.
I love hearing people's stories, how they became in love with music. I enjoy all that. But this is something that's like we're speaking about the community and it's
Right.
a completely open, like you obviously have done a lot of research. You've been in a lot of this situations for a long time. So it's just an open thing. Like we're getting a lot of information on things that a lot of us probably haven't even thought about.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we just because I know for a long time, I and to some extent, I'm not gonna lie, I still probably kind of feel this way. It's like I've never cared who was president or anything because it's like
Yeah.
I just live in this small town, and regardless of if this guy's president or that guy's president, I'm still gonna go buy my groceries the same because I need
Yeah.
them, and I'm still gonna get my gas the same because I need it. So I kind of just fell into that like bot or drone category, if you will, where I was just, all right, this is my life and this is what I got to do. Now I was still thinking outside of the box on everything else,
right,
but as far as like government and everything went, I was just like, I don't care about that because
Yeah.
what am I gonna change?
I have a lot of like I have a lot of thoughts about the federal government, state government, and so on and so forth. But I can't affect what happens at the federal level. I have
Yeah.
no input
Yeah, it's
whatsoever
impossible down
to,
there.
to
Mhm.
Washington D.C. I have
Yeah.
next to zero input in Harrisburg, but I got all the input in the world right here
Yeah.
Yeah.
in my community, and we all do.
And that's where it
Mhm.
starts.
Yes,
Like
absolutely. It is not, nothing is going to trickle down to us. We have to force it upwards.
Yeah.
And
Definitely.
until we have integrity in our local courthouse, we are not going to have integrity at the White House.
Yeah. And it's like you hear about all these great achievements for community people and other places and shit like that. So you're definitely right when it's like it just starts with us. Like it's about if
100%.
we all put the work in and get the shit done we need to get done to make the change. We could be the next community on TV getting laws and getting shit in order the
Mhm.
way we want it to be instead of being
And
ran by.
you have that opportunity right now coming up in November because all of your row offices downtown are up for grabs. And again, you have until well, you guys could do write-ins. You could run a successful write-in campaign
Yeah.
and knock one of them off just to show that you can do it.
Right.
And
Mhm.
then, I mean, it takes
The community will get behind it.
yeah, yeah.
It's
But you
actually
have to show that forward momentum is possible.
Right.
Yeah.
They gotta see to
People dig
believe.
progress.
Yeah, they gotta
So
see to believe.
yes,
Nobody
exactly.
supports you when you're working. They support you when you succeed. Like when the work's paid off, they be like, "Oh, look at him.
Mhm.
Let
Yeah,
me get
Mhm.
behind that."
yeah. But we need you guys in the trenches like now.
Right.
I need you guys running for office. We
Right.
need you on a
My
ballot.
buddy Nick
Yeah.
Lucia is running for mayor of, I want to say,
Angela.
Right.
man,
We
I
outnumber
have
them.
to get
Yeah,
on
we
his
do.
Facebook.
We outnumber them
I
for
want to
sure.
say
Yeah, you
maybe
do.
it's Brownsville or Redstone or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's running for, maybe it's Mount Pleasant, but he's running for mayor, and I think he's like second in his, like, I know they have it like how many votes everyone has, and
Mhm.
he's like second in place right now, or last time that I seen the count. So like I hope he gets it because he's someone I've definitely sat down with and talked almost the same type of conversations where he just already knows. It's almost like he's been wanting to do this for so long that he already knows, like, oh yeah, bro, this is what needs changed, and
Mhm.
definitely needs work, and we could easily do this by doing. And I'm like, bro, how have you not? How are you not already?
Right.
You
Yeah.
have to be careful because I've worked with people in the past. I had a very successful working relationship with the crew that stopped the original prison industrial complex. I've also had some relationships with some people who have where we have different agendas. Like
Yeah.
my way of seeing things might be different from somebody else. So we've run into issues where we get a good group going and then it becomes a thing because there's one that doesn't like this and we got another one that doesn't like that, so it's almost easier to work alone
And
sometimes.
that's the
Yeah.
sad thing is it seems like nowadays there's always a
Always
hidden
something.
agenda.
Always.
Mhm.
There's, at the end of the day, someone's gonna try to censor something because they don't like it, or they're gonna try to push you to push something different because
Right.
that's what they do like.
Mhm.
And like that's why, I I made it a goal to be able to give everybody a platform. Like I
Right.
said, we started with hip hop artists and, well, local artists, but I always wanted to start bringing in like local business owners, people like there's local people that just walk around like they just have normal lives, but everybody knows them. I mean, they're just like a
Mhm.
public figure that people know. They
Yeah.
don't hold
Yeah.
no special title, but it's like rest in peace Tooter, if you guys knew who
Yeah,
Tooter
right.
The
was.
hat.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I would have loved to be able to get him on the show because
Yeah.
it's like this is our community.
Mhm.
And every one of your parents know who this guy is.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like and he's nobody quote unquote special in the sense of like he was never a mayor or a this or that. You know, he was never some high title. It's just he was a genuine good dude, and he was
You know,
always out and about, and people knew
you know
him.
who would be a great podcast idea? Demita Jones.
So, yeah,
She used
see,
to run
like I would
Grand
love to
Street.
have someone like that on here.
She
You
used to
know,
run Grand
like, let's
Street.
get her on.
Yeah. And there's like I want to call it a conspiracy because I don't like to believe bad things about her because she's a great woman. So there's like a conspiracy, I should say, about why she hasn't been rehired for the park this year, like the park directing this year. So shit, that could definitely be
Yeah,
a great
yeah,
interview
we'll
to
have
have
to
her on.
I'll let you get you to contact her.
Definitely.
But yeah, like we were saying, there's always a hidden agenda, and we have to just make sure that whenever, like you were saying, a lot of those your things got impeded because of something like that. One person in the
Yeah.
group had a different outlook, and we just
And
got to
then you got
make
to start
sure.
over,
Yeah,
basically.
it's like we got to make sure that we're all on the same page. And I'm like, damn, isn't anyone else sick of how this place is?
Right? I
I've been
can't
all
be the only
around.
one. I like,
Yeah.
Yeah, like
yeah.
I've been all around. I've been in New York. I've been to Florida. I've been, if you can say it, outside of West Coast, if you can say it, I've been there. And it's like, we we're not awesome.
Yeah.
It doesn't
at
have
all.
to be like this.
Yeah.
It does not have to be like this.
Anytime I go anywhere or hear things about anywhere, like even as far as like considering laws and shit like that, like it's always completely different than what's going on down here. I just be looking back at us and be like, bro, we suck. Like that's how I look at
For
this town.
sure.
Like,
And
bro,
I
we
know
suck.
in
bro.
a
To say the
lot
least.
of instances this is correct, but I am tired of everybody just using the excuse. It's like we've been fed this so many times by someone, and it had to have been prior to me because I never like really heard this much, but we had to have been fed this in prior generations to where it's just stuck in our head that, well, there's nothing we can do about it because we're a Commonwealth state. You know how many laws and dumb things that you're just like, why in the fuck does this exist? And they're like, oh, because it's a Commonwealth state.
Right.
It's like I hear so many people just use that. Like they just, oh, it's a Commonwealth state. I'm gonna get back to my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
being there's 3 or 4 commonwealths in the country, and there are benefits as well as drawbacks.
Yeah, and that's what I mean is a lot of the times us being a Commonwealth state probably doesn't even apply to what they're bitching about.
No.
It's just that we've been fed that so much
Yeah.
that people will just excuse anything as, oh, well, we're a Commonwealth state, so.
And that's the way we've always done it. And that's the way
Yeah.
it's got to be done.
Right.
And,
So I know a little bit earlier we spoke about like how you did some events and like public speaking and
Mhm.
stuff like that. You got anything like you could single out as like a favorite event or speaking you did?
Well, my favorite by far has probably been the first Virginia cannabis meeting that we had, which was an overflow crowd, and I was the cannabis reverend basically for the Virginia Cannabis Coalition.
Right.
And so I did the public speaking at their meetings and so forth. But the first one where we had the overflow crowd, where it was
Yeah.
like everybody was hyped, like
Right.
we had the diversity was amazing. And
I'm sure
of the
the
crowd, it was
diversity
just,
Just
yeah.
imagine.
down in Maryland in general is crazy, bro.
Yeah.
All right, so do you have like just a random rough estimate of how many people you think was there?
For that particular meeting, probably 400.
400
yeah.
people.
Yeah.
All right, so now
Yeah, that
think
was a
about it this
crowd.
way.
Mm-hmm.
She has performed in front of more people public speaking about cannabis than most local rappers have
For music at all.
at 50% of their shows
Yeah.
combined.
Yeah, facts. So,
That's epic.
yeah. Fact. Like I said, you definitely get some accolades. You definitely get some accolades.
I've been at it a while, and I'm consistent. Like I've kind of chosen my path, and
Yeah.
I haven't really. And this is why I tend to work alone more often than not, because I am focused.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
I'm worried about the psychotropic medications. I'm worried about the fact that our community is drugged. intentionally and for profit,
Mm-hmm.
and especially young men when they turn 18 and the Medicaid dollars are cut off, they're cut off as addicts and sent out into the community to fend for themselves. Unconscionable that we do that to our young men. Absolutely unconscionable.
Yeah, bro. That's we're
Especially-
It's
losing as a
genocide.
community.
It's genocide.
Yeah, even like, veterans, shit like that. Like, I know people that come fresh out of the army or something and they might have PTSD or something. Next thing you know, Xanax.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's like,
And
nah,
then they're addicted.
yeah, and now he's a zombie. And that's
Yep.
the sad thing is one thing that I've known for a long time, while a withdrawal from anything technically can kill you from like self asphyxiation or, something along those lines. But the two things that will kill you just because of what they are from withdrawal is alcohol and benzos, because they will cause you to have seizures, your body will shut down. I forget if it's liver or kidney related, but it's one of the
Yeah.
two. And so it's like the fact that they will just like this is known. This is a
100%.
well-known thing. And it's just like, okay, you get Xanax because you don't like being in crowds, and you get Xanax because whenever you drive your car, you feel like someone's following you,
Right.
and you get Xanax because you can't stare at the TV for too long without going to play with your handheld video game or some shit. And he gets Xanax because he tries to fight somebody when they touch his toys. Like, gee, what the
Yeah.
fuck?
Everybody
Xanax.
gets a pill.
It's like Oprah
Mhm.
all the
Yeah.
time.
Right.
And I've honest to God, I've sat in it and I've watched 6, 7, 8-year-old boys pills, taking pills,
Yeah, if it ain't Xanax, it's Adderall.
Adderall,
Mhm.
Ritalin, like it's, and then we wonder like
I was with a girl
why?
that was on Seroquel. I'm like, Jesus,
I can't.
that
that's
is like
poison.
that is like psychotic. Like that is they should only be giving that to people that are like so psychotic that they're just like trying to kill people just because they think they hear
I
voices.
was actually prescribed Seroquel.
Yeah, like that
And
is a
yeah,
insane
it was an
drug.
insane experience, and I actually went to the emergency room at the Uniontown Hospital in the midst of detoxing, and they treated me like a junkie, and I crawled out of the emergency
Yeah,
room and I
Seroquel
went
is
home
just an
and I smoked pot until I felt okay, and that's
Really?
how I got off of Seroquel.
Bro, around like I'll probably say like 6 months ago, I went to the hospital down here in Uniontown for I was having like this crazy pain in my lower abdominal, and I was like I couldn't even like sit up straight or nothing. Like it was like making me like jump because it was hurting so bad, and it was like throbbing. So I get to the hospital and they were treating me like I was on drugs. Like they
Yep.
was treating me like I was in there
Or you were looking
overdosing
there
off drugs.
you were looking for a script.
Right, yeah. And I'm not gonna lie, the wrong thing I did say was, can y'all give me some perks or something? Because the medicine that they was giving me wasn't working. But prior to that, I have never took a perk in my life. I just knew a perk was a high dose drug
He
that
said, I have heard of this
Bro, I'm
before.
like,
Right?
bro, all I knew was like, bro, I know if somebody gets hurt bad, y'all prescribing perks. I'm hurting bad. Like, can I get a perk? Like, so they was looking at me like I seen the look on the nurse's face, like I'm disgusted
He
with you.
said
Like,
that too smooth.
so
Yeah.
when they left out, my dad was looking at me. He was like, "Well, they already think you're on drugs." He was like, "You can't tell them that. He was like, you can't say stuff like that to them." And I did end up getting prescribed perks after that, and I was taking them for like 7 days or something like that. But yeah, they definitely treated me like I was on drugs, bro. Like I was in a like the pain was getting so bad that I didn't have control over like my body parts. Like I was just shaking and shaking and shaking and shaking. And I'm thinking I'm about to go in a shock because like my fucking liver's failing or my kidneys failing or something. So I'm in there like more or less trying to keep my calm, but I can't because the pain was so
Mhm.
bad. But they was all looking at me like, oh, another overdose. Like that's how they was just looking at me. And I was just like,
It's problematic to live in Fayette County and go to the hospital when you're in pain
bro,
because
yes.
you're
Oh, yeah.
automatically judged.
And
Yes.
especially if it's like a broken limb,
Mm-hmm.
they instantly think you did it because it's like, oh well, if it's broke, they
They
gotta.
got to give you something.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's, I mean, I granted people do go script shopping.
Yeah, I was gonna say it
We
is.
get that, but 98% of us, when
Yeah,
we
there
go
is
to
a
the
very
hospital in
major
pain,
normal
you know,
percentage still.
yeah, they need to, it needs to be flipped, you know. People in pain need to be treated with respect.
And here's the funniest thing is that if you walk in looking like a soccer mom with your Louis Vuitton purse and all that, you'll get
100%.
you'll get the script
100%.
because they think quotation that you're a normal, oh yeah, they're normal. In reality, soccer moms and shit are abusing opiates more
Mhm.
than anyone else.
Yep.
And then on top of that, if you have money or if you have the right connections, it's not hard to find a doctor. What you know how many people I know that know doctors in Morgantown?
Yeah.
You can just go right over the state line as long as your insurance will carry over there. There's doctors that what do you want? What do you want? That's all
Yeah,
they
that's
want to know.
crazy.
What do you want? I got you.
It's all about the money.
Yeah, because they know
Always.
it's coming in from the insurance regardless.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy, bro. That's crazy for sure.
But we definitely appreciate you coming in and talking to us.
I appreciate you having me.
Again, we definitely need to set up a post interview.
Most certainly.
There's going to be a lot of stuff that, you know, due to circumstances we couldn't talk about and can't wait to. I'm not gonna lie, can't wait to talk
Yeah,
about it.
We will
definitely.
definitely be chatting
Because
about it.
The
Definitely.
fact that you do your best in every aspect and you're trying to make a change, the things that you're going through right now is just it's unrealistic. Like it shouldn't be happening to somebody. I understand, you know, things are how they are, but that's still there's
It
other routes
almost,
that could have been taken.
well, yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
Like somebody could have knocked on my door,
Mhm.
for example.
Right.
Uh, but yeah, I lost my train of thought with that. We got to do something. We can't keep living like this.
Yeah.
Like we just can't. People are dying every day in this community,
Yeah,
and it's preventable.
100% preventable.
Preventable.
and we will
100%. Man.
Well, yeah, we definitely need to talk after everything is after everything shakes out.
yeah.
I think there's going to be some news. Probably, I'm not going to share it here because it's not my news to share. But there's going to be some news coming out on Crime Watch later, probably about our DA right now. So
Okay.
look forward to that.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
tune in. And y'all know y'all be watching Crime Watch. Everybody
Oh,
be
yeah.
watching Crime Watch.
At some point, I'm going to sit down with Angela too. But you guys were
Okay.
you were my first stop.
We greatly
Definitely, we
appreciate
appreciate
that.
that. Yeah,
I
for
appreciate
sure.
the invite.
We appreciate
Definitely.
everybody that's been in the comments showing love. You definitely have support out here. I can say that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm knowing this is gonna be one of our most viewed videos, bro.
Yeah,
I
this
know
was-
it is, bro.
Alton
was
said that
amazing.
I was going to rival his
I'm telling you,
his
bro.
views. So yeah.
I know it's gonna be.
Yeah, and again, guys, stay tuned. Because we're definitely gonna have a post interview. I'll keep you updated on that as
Definitely.
everything goes down. We appreciate you for stopping in, hanging out with us.
Definitely want to say good luck towards all the upcoming events you got.
I got this.
And all of this for sure.
Yeah,
I got
for
this.
sure.
hey, karma does amazing things.
The universe
Yeah.
takes care of me.
There's
Yeah.
good karma too. There
Yeah.
ain't just bad karma. There's
Oh,
good karma
I
too.
experience good karma every day. I'm not. This is a setback.
Yeah,
It's
right.
it's an impediment. It's
Right.
not the end of the world for me.
It's
like,
just a
this is-
hurdle. It's just a hurdle.
And it could be the thing that propels me to a point where I
Yeah,
can get us some
Yeah,
outside
you're
Right.
gonna
attention.
Yeah.
shake back
Like
stronger. 'cause
we've
this is-
yeah, exactly. I will be back, and I will be back stronger. Believe that.
Yeah, for
the
sure.
only thing
Yeah.
this did was give more people eyes on the things that you're doing.
Exactly. It's going to turn into a blessing if it hasn't already.
Right.
If it
Yeah.
hasn't already. So I'll definitely keep you guys updated,
Hey,
For
we
sure.
appreciate
and hopefully let's maybe talk again before the election.
that. Yeah.
Looking
Yeah.
forward
Hey,
to
Yeah,
it.
anytime that you're able
That's
to,
fine.
you let us know, and we'll make sure to give you some space and get you in here.
I
We
appreciate
gotta
that.
get her a special seat or something.
Make sure you guys tune in Friday for Marley State of Mind. Sunday, we got the boys back for 14 World Takeover.
Definitely.
And this has been Bullshittin' East End Edition. Normally you guys don't hear my voice, but I'm in here with
I
you guys
strong armed
tonight.
you. I strong armed
And
you
Locked
onto
him
the
up
mic.
today.
we'll catch you guys later.